Hello everyone, this is the Southern Hellenic. I'm back with another video. So I like doing videos based on articles I've read and kind of give my opinion about the article. Now this is from a wonderful website called Classical Wisdom. And I really do like the website because they really give you a lot of food for thought. And I think that's one of the great things about this religion is when you find an article that is from Greece and it's about something that the Greeks at one time did but no longer do, it really makes you think long and hard about things. So this was the Vanishing Vulva, how the ancient Greek wrote women out of worship. And this is very much something that, women were in charge of a certain temple and then they were all kicked out and the men took over. And it was a way of, it was a way of, I think, depleting women's only spaces or positions that women had a huge measure of control. Yesterday I talked about the early church. A lot of the people in the early church were women, and then they were all kicked out, and men took over. That was when men found out it was really popular. Also, anything that women liked, they just had to take away. It's just typical. All right. So I'm not going to read the article entirely, but I'm just going to point out a lot of parts of this and everything. So it says here, ancient female fertility symbols were scattered everywhere in the ancient world, from ancient goddesses such as Kali to the blue skin goddess of destruction, the Japanese goddess of death and creation, and the Babylonian goddess of ocean, chaos, and creation. Now, I'm not going to mention these goddesses' names because I'm afraid to butcher them. Some of the earliest prehistoric figures have been of women with their vulvas on full display. So it says here, the Venus of, I cannot pronounce it, is the oldest stone statue depicting a human. It dates around 40,000 to 35,000 years ago and features exaggerated female breasts, hips, thighs, and vulva. The statue was about sex and reproduction, but also the hope for survival, nourishment, longevity, and successful community. So if you look at the history of human civilization and early humans and everything, and no, I do not buy the belief that religion was founded by the first con artist who conned the first man or first woman. That is a very, very annoying statement or comment or whatever by someone who has no degree in sociology. It's just, and people buy it. I mean, you have a guy or a woman who wrote this that does not have a degree or did not have a degree in sociology, and because the statement was heavily anti-religious, it's like, yeah, that's what actually happened. No, that's not happened at all. There's a wonderful documentary called, either it's The Secrets of Stonehenge or Stonehenge Decoded. Kiefer Sutherland's father narrates it. And they talk about basically that the ancient Celts were trying to make sense of their world. It was a group, it was a community, it was multiple communities that were trying to understand, what went on. And by that time, you already have this established priesthood and everything. So religion actually stemmed from early man trying to find out or figure out things. It was not about duping people or whatever. There was a think it was a video I watched where the Athenian priesthood would have this big elaborate show, and people took it as, oh yeah, this is how they're using this to get people's money. And that's not, you cannot use modernized terms to talk about ancient things. That just doesn't work. That's not how sociologists talk about these things. That's not how archaeologists and anthropologists talk about these things. They don't talk it as a, oh yeah, they're using it to get people's money. It is that this was just something that they did. But also anything that was big and bold and required a lot of blood had to be financed. Heck, you gotta finance. You gotta give money out if you want safe roads. And a lot of people say that's the biggest con. But that's just some people out there that don't want to spend money on anything. Alright, it says here, traditions of vulval veneration have been found in European and Australian Paleolithic art. Carvings of vulvals were made in stone, ivory, or bone on walls or worn as jewelry. Talk about Sumerian goddess Ishtar. Now, Ishtar was brought into the Egyptian pantheon, and apparently her vulva enabled Ra to re-find his brightness. So I thought that was interesting. And then, of course, her vulva was also responsible for plants to grow on Earth. I think I got some incense in my eye. Okay, so as time went on, everything changes. You can't get away from it. The vulva soon became, in this article, obscene and pornographic. Of course, nowadays, here's a funny thing. I gotta mention this because it's funny. So talking about sexual items or sexual imagery becoming obscene or pornographic. During the early excavations of Pompeii, actual excavations of Pompeii, not just going there and pillaging and stealing what you want, the king of, I think it was the king of Greece, came to, it's not the king of Greece, sorry, wrong country. Oh, Michelle, Pompeii is in Rome, Pompeii is in Italy, but okay, the king of Italy, or what, the benefactor, came over to have this nice little picnic. Why you would picnic at the ruins of Pompeii, I don't know. I think at this point, they kind of suspected there was dead bodies. I don't know how they suspected it was dead bodies, but it's a nice little thing. And so they're excavating around him and, trying to keep the dust out of his food, because excavations back then, just like they are now, are very, very dusty and messy. And this statue of Pan having sex with a nanny goat appeared. He said, stop, excavation is over. The idea that these phalluses were everywhere, literally everywhere, ended up causing quite a stir, and they ended up in the, what we call the naughty room. But that is a good idea of like a sexual symbol be considered obscene and pornographic, because they took down a lot of frescoes that showed people having sex in Pompeii, and they put it away because it would have offended the women, and well, probably because the women would have been jealous. I don't know. Probably. But yeah, that's a good prime example of a sexual symbol being considered obscene or pornographic. It's that particular moment when the king was like, nope, 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 nope. No more excavations. Although I'm pretty sure some of the excavators were pretty upset about the fact that they had just had to stop working because this little stuffy rich guy goes and says, okay. So they were upset, like, what am I getting paid for? But their wives were like, why are you home? Why are you home early, honey? Just a thought. Yeah. So Greek culture changed, as it inevitably does. You move away from human sacrifice to animal sacrifice, but it wasn't a fast change because, as we know, anytime society is changing, the old guard gets really upset about it. Depends on what's changing and how upset you get when it happens. So fertility goddesses showing their vulvas were reserved for female-only spaces. For example, only married women were allowed to attend the feminine festival of Tessamorphria, where pomegranates were eaten as a symbol of menstruation and bread were molded to the likeness of female genitalia. Meanwhile, in the public domain, female statues and their vulva symbols were covered up or removed entirely in favor of the phallic symbols. So, in ancient Greek statues, you will definitely see a lot of the goddesses that are robed, except for Aphrodite, but the lower part of her body is covered up. Despite everybody knowing that she's the goddess of sex and all that type of stuff, they still did not want her to be depicted having female genitalia, so that's why that part is covered up. But male statues are definitely you see their man bits, their phalluses. Though later on down the road, when Renaissance people were actually recreating these statues, they actually put olive or like fig leaves where their penis was at, because just like with the vulva, having a statue with a uncovered penis was considered pornography, and it was also considered obscene, even though it was a accurate representation or accurate recreation of ancient Greek art, and definitely Roman. All right. So there's a see here. And it says here, Leonard, I can't pronounce his last name. In his book, The Alphabet and the Goddess, argues that the disappearance of the vulva coincides with an increase in phallic symbology and a more literate society. So I don't know what he got by that. I guess he thought that people that worship the vulva were illiterate. I don't know. I'm just going by one line that is in the book. For example, in the trilogy, the Orestia, I cannot pronounce it. It's Orestea. 525 to 455 BCE, the god Apollo argues that men are the creators of life and women are merely a passive vessel, forgetting the fact is that, you kind of disrespecting your own mother. I guess Apollo didn't, never mind, I'm not going to say that. I might insult him. During the trial of Orpheus, who was accused of murdering his mother, Apollo makes the following plea to the goddess Athena, who's acting as judge. Seriously? So you kill your mother, and Apollo will be like, yeah, we all know murder's wrong, but because the victim was a woman. Yeah. Um, Yeah, so it says here, Athena agrees with Apollo and sets him free. Despite being a woman herself, she believed that motherhood was misplaced since she had been born from Zeus's skull, not from her mother. However, the play conveniently ignores any reference to the fact that in the original myth, Athena was in the uterus of her mother, Metis, before Zeus tricked her and swallowed her whole. Metis continued her pregnancy inside Zeus until Athena burst forth from an axe wound in his head. Um, with increasing literature, poems, and plays depict women as passive participants in reproduction and excluded women from the process of creation. Feminine roles were pushed to the perimeter of society. Now, deities like Athena and Artemis, you definitely, a lot of the statues depicts like Athena and Artemis fully robed, and that is only because they are maiden goddesses. Now there is one picture of Artemis. This is from the Valdu store, where you can see the outline of her breasts and all that type of stuff. I don't think that she's fully robed, but I think that's just his depiction of her. But she would have been fully robed. So would Athena, because we're talking, and of course Hestia is also fully robed. Now Demeter also is, but everyone knows that she is that she's the mother of Kor / Persephone. But the reason that Athena and Artemis and Hestia are fully robed is because they are virgin goddesses, and they're not to flaunt anything. They're not flaunting their assets because they just don't want to. They just don't see the point of flaunting their assets. Alright. The most popular myth that involves the Vulva story of Vulva, when Demeter, goddess of the earth, lost her daughter to Hades. Vulva flashed her vulva to Demeter to make her laugh. Well, this is an act to show feminine unity. At the same time, it made the vulva a subject of humor and jest. And then later on, they depicted her as a ugly old woman. Yeah. And it says here, the vulva and the female genitalia has lost its connection and respect as essential to life itself and has become the subject of fun and pleasure, which it still is to this day. And let me see here. So the article is really interesting. It says here, the rest, as I say, is history, a history that has marred by the suppression and almost complete destruction of feminine symbols to empower and feminine identity. However, as times change and we enter a new age of free expression and fast communication, old ways are being rediscovered and the feminine and masculine roles are being redefined. Perhaps the old ways and the power of the goddess have not been as truly lost as we once thought. And they have a whole bunch of references and everything. So overall, I thought the article was very, very well written and very well done. I love that classical wisdom incorporates where they, their sources, where they get their information from. And I really think that the attitude that, women are just incubators for the seed really bled over into into Christianity. Judaism had their own thing, so that was a whole separate ball of wax. But it did go into Christianity and infected into Islam and all that type of stuff. But I think that any time that you have this whole thing, this whole attitude changing. I also think a lot um, about trying to deprive women of the right over their own body, and denying them that, what I would call that power over their own body, um, is goes right back to the idea that that women nurture life, and but it is the man that actually brings life. Just, you know, she's just an incubator, like a like you put like a machine that you put eggs in, and they turn to baby chicks. But anyways, so I thought that it was interesting. The article definitely was very well written. That's what I like about classical wisdom. I really like it, and everything. So I'm gonna do more of the videos if I find an interesting article that's based on, has, talks about Greece and Greek whatever. I'll do a video about it, because I think that's good to bring these articles out, and so I'm going to end it there. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you around Thursday. So until next time, may you be happy, healthy, most importantly be safe, and hail to the gods. Bye.